The church was silent, too silent for a wedding. Everyone had just watched Amaka lift something from her husband's suit pocket. No one expected what came next. Her hand trembled as she held up a woman's pink underwear for everyone to see. Gasps filled the hall. The pastor froze mid-blessing. The groom, David, stood still, his face drained of color. Amaka's eyes burned with rage. "David, what is this?" she demanded, her voice breaking the silence. David couldn't answer. He looked down, his lips moving without words. Cameras clicked, guests whispered, and the choir members exchanged looks of confusion. Amaka turned to the crowd. "He said I was his first. His only. Yet this was in his pocket." Her voice cracked with pain. The pastor tried to calm her. "Sister Amaka, please, let's handle this decently." But she pulled her hand away. The underwear dangled between her fingers like proof of betrayal. The perfect Lagos wedding had just become a scene of heartbreak. The crowd whispered louder now. Some stood to get a better view, while others covered their mouths in disbelief. David's best man slowly stepped back, avoiding the scene like it was fire. Amaka's eyes stayed locked on David. "So, this is how you start our marriage? With another woman's pant?" she said bitterly. Her voice echoed through the church. David swallowed hard. "Amaka, please, it's not what you think," he stammered, sweating under the lights. His hands trembled, his confident groom's smile long gone. The pastor looked helpless. "My children, today is supposed to be holy. Let's resolve this with calm hearts." But nobody was calm. A woman from the crowd whispered, "Maybe it belongs to one of his exes." Another added, "No, this one looks new." Amaka turned back to David, her voice shaking with anger. "Tell everyone whose it is. Now." David looked at the floor, tears forming in his eyes. "It's complicated," he murmured. The crowd gasped again. "Complicated? On their wedding day?" Before David could say another word, a voice came from the crowd. "It's mine." Everyone turned to see a slim young woman standing at the back, wearing a red gown. Gasps echoed through the hall like thunder. Amaka's hand dropped. "What did you just say?" she asked, trembling. The woman walked slowly toward the altar, eyes fixed on David. "I said it's mine," she repeated, her voice low but firm. David shut his eyes in shame. The whispers grew louder. "Is that not his secretary?" someone muttered. "The same woman from the office party?" another added. Amaka's body shook with anger. "So, David, you were sleeping with her? Before our wedding?" Her voice broke halfway through the sentence. David tried to speak, but his throat locked up. "It was a mistake," he said softly. "It happened once. I ended it." Amaka's eyes filled with tears. "You ended it, yet her underwear was in your suit pocket?" she asked. Silence fell again. Even the pastor didn't know what to say. David finally raised his head, his eyes red. "I didn't put it there," he said weakly. "I swear I didn't." The pastor frowned. "Then how did it get into your pocket, my son?" The woman in the red gown crossed her arms. "Stop lying, David. You told me you loved me. You said you were marrying her because your parents forced you." A loud cry came from Amaka's mother in the front row. The church became chaos. Amaka stared at David, her heart breaking into pieces. "You told her that?" she asked softly. Her voice no longer sounded angry, it sounded destroyed. David stepped forward, tears streaming down his face. "Amaka, I was confused. I ended it, but she came to my hotel room last night. I swear I pushed her away." The woman snapped, "That's a lie. I left my underwear there by mistake when you begged me to stay." The crowd shouted in shock again. The pastor shouted for order, but no one listened. Amaka turned to walk away, her wedding gown brushing the floor. But David grabbed her hand. "Please let me explain." She yanked it away. "Save it for God, David." Amaka stood still for a moment, tears running down her cheeks. Everyone watched, holding their breath. The choir members had stopped singing, the drummer dropped his sticks, and even the pastor looked helpless. Then Amaka slowly removed her wedding veil and dropped it on the floor. "This wedding is over," she said calmly. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. David rushed forward. "Please, Amaka, don't do this. I can explain everything. I love you." She turned to him, eyes cold. "You love me, yet you spent your last night before our wedding with another woman?" The woman in red smirked slightly. "Maybe she wasn't enough for you." The crowd gasped again. Amaka stepped closer to her. "You can have him," she said quietly. "But remember, what starts with shame ends with regret." She turned to the pastor. "Thank you for your time, sir. But I can't marry a man who already betrayed me before our vows. Then she walked slowly down the aisle, each step echoing louder than the church bells. Guests moved aside as she passed, some crying, others shaking their heads. Outside the church, cameras flashed as Amaka stepped into the bright Lagos sun. Her makeup was ruined by tears, but her face carried peace. Reporters and guests whispered, trying to record the moment. She didn't care anymore. Her best friend Chioma ran after her, holding her purse. Amaka, wait. Where are you going? Amaka wiped her eyes. Home. I'd rather be alone than live a lie. Behind them, the church doors burst open. David came out, still in his suit, calling her name. Amaka, please. I'll do anything. Don't walk away. She turned and looked at him one last time. You already lost me, David. You just didn't know it until today. Chioma guided her into a waiting car. Inside, Amaka took one deep breath. The wedding dress that once meant joy now felt like a cage. This is not my end, she whispered. It's my beginning. The car drove off, leaving the crowd behind. David stood at the church steps, surrounded by murmurs and judgment. The woman in red disappeared quietly. The pastor sighed deeply, shaking his head. Sometimes heartbreak becomes freedom, and Amaka had just taken her first step toward it.